I tend to try to parent them like how I would have responded to as me being a kid. And they are not me.
We have some pretty hard rules when it comes to like respect, because I think that's where a relationship starts, you know, and I think bullying can happen even in a family. So if I wouldn't allow my children to say or do something hurtful to someone outside of our home, then I'm not going to allow them to say and do those things inside of our home to their siblings.
But I think, too, just because they're stepping away, that doesn't mean you can't still offer guidance and wisdom. You know, we just didn't end those conversations and say, okay, well, you know, 18, you're good luck. And and just now they're encouraging us in our spiritual walk, you know, because they're kind of sharpening us, or we see the way they're praying for us and remembering things and just how they're growing in their jobs and church and where they're serving. So it's so rewarding. It's hard, but it is very rewarding.
Welcome to Let's Talk About That, the podcast where we deep dive into Sunday's message and explore your questions. I'm your host, Astin Kahnk, and I'm excited to share this journey with you. Whether you're a longtime member of the Orchard or a first-time visitor, Let's Talk About That is your space to explore, reflect, and connect. Join us as we navigate the intricacies of faith, spirituality, and daily life, seeking to understand how the wisdom shared on Sundays can be applied to our modern challenges. So, grab a cup of coffee, find a comfortable space, and let's dive in together. This is Let's Talk About That, where the conversation about Sunday's message never stops. Well, welcome back to Let's Talk About That. Here we are with week 3 of our July Momcast takeover, and I have loved every single conversation that has been recorded over the last 2 weeks. So far, we've heard from our Brantford location Momcast and our Live Oak Momcast, and today we are going to hear from our Lake City Momcast. Ladies, how are you doing today?
We're good.
Doing great.
Yay, they're here. All right. Well, why don't you guys go around the table and just tell us a little bit about yourselves?
All right. I'm Kellie Federico. I'm a mom of 3. I have 2 6-year-old boys and a almost 6-month-old little girl, and I'm a nurse.
Very cool. Oh, sweet little babies. Oh, busy season of life.
Very busy. Very busy.
We were talking earlier, and I knew Kellie had 2 boys, and I was like, oh, well, how old are your boys? And she's like, they're 6. I was like, what's the other one? They're 6. So, little fun fact, my friend, she's twins. That's exciting.
Yes.
All right, let you go.
And I'm Janice, and I'm married to Vince, and I have 2 young adult daughters, Shelby and Maggie, and I'm a retired school administrator.
And Shelby and Maggie are awesome. They are very familiar faces to the Orchard. They've been around a long time. We love the Camp family. And then last but certainly not least, we have...
I am Jamie Foote. I am married to Shane Foote. We have 3 kids. They are 10, 8, and 5. And I'm a speech language pathologist.
Very cool. And as of Friday, what else can you add behind your name?
Can we plug this in here? Are we allowed to do?
Hey, it's something for fun. And I think it's really cool because it's something God has put on your heart and we've got to see. So I'd love for you to, kind of share. We get to now add to the end of your last name.
Well, I have written and published a book. It's called Adventures on Laguna Lane.
Yay!
It was originally written for my daughter, and it has kind of snowballed into a real life thing by the grace of God. It's been such a blessing to me. So
Very cool.
Just opened for pre-order on Friday.
Yay! So cool. And I've known Jamie a long time, and when she told me she was an author, I was like, where is this coming from? But again, so cool how even at our age with older kids, God can still place things on your heart. So awesome. Well, thank you, ladies, for being here today. I'm very excited about this conversation, and I know that it's going to be a fun one. So to kick things off, I have a little icebreaker question for you. So what is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Okay, I have a kind of oddly specific.
Okay, I'm here for it.
So I didn't become a mom until I was 35. So I had many years of like observing and seeing things. So I don't know, the most relevant thing that comes to my mind is wait for your kid to be ready to potty train. Oh. Like when my boys turned 2, I was like, okay, we need to do this. Yeah. Let's do this.
Yeah.
3-day weekend came up. We got started, got the potties out, all of that. And within about 2 hours, I was like, no. Girl, we're not. You're not ready.
Yeah.
And I started doing some research, and it was like overwhelmingly wait till they're ready, especially for boys.
Yeah.
And I did. And I even did them separately because they were kind of ready at different times. And it was so much easier that way. I was about to go crazy in 2 hours already.
Okay.
And
yeah, I did the same thing. Jax turned 2 and I was like, it's time. And again, did the whole 3-day weekend and I was in tears and I was like, absolutely not. So 6 months later, he was ready. But that's good. That's gold right there.
They were 3, I think, and they already even delayed it. Like one, I think Carter was ready first. I even delayed it because we were going on vacation, and I was like, not doing that on vacation. So we even waited till we got back from vacation, and tons easier.
Yeah, that's good. Someone's gonna take that and use it.
Yeah. So thank you, Kellie Federico from Let's Talk About That.
Yes.
What about you, Miss Janice?
Well, mine kind of goes back to when Vince and I were raising our young family. We were in a Sunday school class with Julian and Sarah Singleton were our leaders, and they passed along a lot of biblical knowledge, but also a lot of practical knowledge. And one of the things that Julian always says is, if you'll accept my idiosyncrasies, I'll accept yours. So I've kind of gone with that in life, kind of like give everyone grace, hope that they give you grace also, because we're all stressed at times, or we may come across short or things. And sometimes we don't even know, maybe someone else may receive something from us that we didn't even realize, but just trying to give people grace and, hope that others give you grace. And even, like I know I've gone through the store, the cashier, they're so stressed and they're like, I'm so sorry you had to wait so long, or they're having a bad day. And I'm like, it's okay. If this is the worst thing that happens to me today, I'm going to be all right. So just try to give everyone grace and be kind.
That's so good.
Just try to remember that.
Yeah. Even with our children, we take that.
Yeah. Right. Vince and I had to practice it yesterday, giving each other grace.
I love it. All right. What about you, Jamie?
So when I was pregnant with Lane, my second child, I had an older friend, and she was, a seasoned mom. She had 3 older kids, and she gave me some really good advice. I was telling her that I was feeling, guilty about adding another baby to our family whenever Grace was so young and she still needed me so much. She was only 18 months old whenever we found out we were pregnant with Lane.
Oh, wow.
And so she said, Jamie, you are giving Grace one of the best gifts that you could ever give her, and that is a sibling.
Yeah.
And she said, siblings are some of the only people in our lives that walk with us every step of the way, from our birth to our death. Our parents can't do that. Most of our friends can't do that. So siblings are such a blessing. And she was so right. I shouldn't have felt guilty for adding another baby to our family.
Yeah.
God calls us to be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah.
And I was giving Grace a built-in best friend.
Yeah.
So I immediately stopped feeling guilty. And I've kind of taken that piece of advice and applied it to, any time that I feel quote unquote mom guilt.
Yeah. And that's a real thing.
Because I think most of the time, us moms, I think we give ourselves a hard time for things that maybe we really shouldn't feel guilty about. For me, this might not apply to everybody, but sometimes I feel guilty for, spending time working or spending time with my husband, just us.
Yeah.
Or taking time to go to the gym, or not giving my kids something that they want. But when I think of that advice that my friend gave me, I look at it like, no, I'm gifting my kids doing these things, because I'm bettering their lives in the long run, even though they might not see it that way right now.
Yeah.
I'm making things better for them by providing for our family financially, or prioritizing my marriage with their dad, or prioritizing my health so that I can live a longer life with them, or not giving them the things they want so they can appreciate the things that they have.
Yeah.
So I think just with that advice, I've learned to walk confidently in the decisions that I make based on what God has called me to do, or what I feel like God has called me to do. And then, if there is something that I feel like I need to change, that's like a true burden, then I pray about it, and I make a plan, and then I change it.
Yeah.
So that was some really good advice I carried with me.
That's good. Now, as you were talking, I was thinking about, have you guys heard she's a lady on Instagram, and her name is Lindsay, can't tell you the rest, but she's used a phrase called get your pink back. Have you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So as you were talking, that's what made me think. So for those of you that don't know Lindsay, she is a Christian mom, and during her, I don't remember after which child was born, but she just felt really depleted in some areas. And so I think she ended up doing some research. And where this get your pink back comes from is from flamingos. And when we think of a flamingo, we think of the vibrant pink color.
But then you'll see some off to the side who don't have that same color. And through her research, she realized flamingos lose their vibrant color when they're like giving their children what they need, or their children, their baby flamingos what they need, but they're giving so much of themselves, they like lose that vibrant color. But I love what you said, because I feel like right now I'm in that season of like, quote unquote, trying to get my pink back now that I have an almost 1-year-old, trying to remember who Astin is. But I love that you have already said, like, you know, that's the best blessing you can give your kids is the best version of yourself, whether it is going on a date night with your husband, writing a book, which is awesome, doing the things that remind you of who Jamie is, who God created Jamie to be. Because I think so many times as moms, we can kind of lose that. I know I for sure can, where I feel like, you know, I'm Jackson Lucy's mom, I'm Brandon's wife, but I'm also was Astin before all of that. So that's just what made me think of that. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we can totally idolize motherhood.
Very true. Yes.
You know, where that becomes like the center of our world.
Yeah.
And, you know, doing everything for our kids becomes more important than thinking about all of the things that God has called us to do. Yeah. He calls us to be mothers.
Yeah.
But sometimes he doesn't just call us to be a mother.
Mm-hmm. Calls us so much more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, ladies, man, that's we could just stop right there and wrap it up right there. But we got
Some more things to talk about. But
I would love to kind of ask a question, you know, round table for Janice. This would be kind of a past question looking back. But how do you guys measure a quote unquote successful day of parenting? And how has that changed as your kids have grown?
So I think I used to think a successful day was one where, you know, maybe the kids all got along really well, or I didn't yell too much, or nobody got hurt. You know, we didn't have to send Lane to the ER that day or something, you know. But my dad passed away suddenly and unexpectedly about 3 years ago. And when I tell you that God used that to change everything for me, he absolutely did. I got a firsthand wake-up call that life is so fleeting and so fragile, and we have no control.
yeah.
So now I guess I consider a successful day to be one where, you know, I can physically gather all of my children to me and my husband, and we can just bow our heads and pray and just thank God for another day.
Yeah.
You know, everything else is just icing on the cake. If you had a really good day where there was just a little bit of fussing or we had a lot of fun, then that's just the cherry on top. But I'll never again not be thankful and appreciate a day where I can be with all of the people that I love together.
Yeah. That's good, Jamie. That's really good.
I mean, pretty similar. Day to day, I tend to measure it. Is everyone alive? Check. Okay, success. Yeah. More commonly, I incorrectly measure it by, did I get all my things done? Did I get all my things done and get in bed at a reasonable time? Because then I'm super successful. And then if Matt was working, he works 24-hour shifts. So if he's working and I did all of that, super success, you know, like, but in reality, you know, that's not at all what matters. You know, it matters of, you know, have we connected with our kids that day?
Yeah.
Have we made them feel loved and, you know, spent time with them?
Yeah.
Not spent time with my mental checklist. Yeah. And that's hard for me sometimes to like slow down enough when you work every day and you've only got so many hours in the day to like slow down enough to like check in with them and just spend time with them.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what more of a successful day is. You know, have we talked about the Lord? Have we, you know, done our Bible study or, you know, that day and that kind of stuff is really more of what the successful day to me is. But I really get caught up in that checklist.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there like specific ways or like questions y'all like ask your kids like to kind of like check in with them like at the end of the day? Like do y'all have like a family prayer or something, or like a dinner table question or something that y'all, you know, check in? How was your day? Or like table discussions?
I usually just say, hey, how was your day? What did you do? Like trying to get them to tell me what they did that day, which they're 6, they're boys. They're like, we played, he went outside.
Yeah.
That's it.
Usually we just ask, you know, at the end of the day when we're saying our prayer, we always say one thing that we're thankful for, you know. And so a lot of times it pertains to, you know, whatever we've done that day. So we kind of end up recapping the day and talking about the things that went on that day through that.
Yeah, I heard one mom, she said, I guess she calls it her, give me one, I think it was like one rose and one thorn of your day, where you talk about, Janice is nodding her head, like where you tell me one great thing and then what was one thing that maybe didn't go as planned, but how can you do better? So I thought about, I'm always getting ideas. I have a long list of ideas.
And for the 20-somethings, it's high, low, and a buffalo.
a high, a low, and then buffalo's just any random thing.
Okay, the educator. I love it. The
High, low, buffalo.
Yeah, that's very cool. So what about you, Janice?
Well, I just think, too, kind of pivoting off what you said, used to, you kind of measure everything based on what you get done.
Yeah.
And I heard an illustration by an author, Irma Bombeck. She was like a humorous author from years ago. And she said, every day you get up and you're putting these beads on a necklace. You know, you're like, oh, I'm getting all this done and I've got the kids fed and I'm doing this. I'm being so productive.
Yeah.
I think you look down at the end of the day and there's not a knot at the end of the necklace. All the beads slide off and you start all over again the next day.
Yeah.
So, you know, you think a lot about really it's based on, but it's not on the task. When you look back, it really is the small moments, like slowing down enough to have a picnic in the front yard or watch the show in the garage that you really, you know, the performers with the dog dressed up and the bubbles that you're thinking, oh, got so much to do, you know, but pulling up your chair and watching the garage door go up and watching the show. And then also remembering, kind of pivoting off what you said a while ago, it's okay to say no. And
why is it so hard as moms? Like, you think you're crushing their spirit, and it's like where you have the meltdowns and the tears.
right. And you know how even as adults, we think we have to have certain things. And 3 months later, we don't even remember what they are. And they don't, you know, they don't remember that thing, you know, and it's okay if it's not in your budget. It's not a good decision. It's okay to say no and move on. And you don't have to explain everything either.
Yeah.
You know, so I think those are some things too. Then I think too, again, just shared experiences to do everything you can with your children, volunteer where they are. I just feel like all those shared experiences, I know even for us, like mission trips or youth trips or anything we've done together, we've tried to say yes, even sometimes when it's like, okay, you know, but, and, you know, but they just build those experiences and memories and things. And then also we tried to always open our home to their friends. Sometimes that might have been inconvenient. Sometimes it might have cost a little money, but it was so worth it because we knew their friends. I felt like that, you know, was part of, you know, for us parenting.
No, I have some good memories showing up to the camp living room, hanging out, but you and Vince were right there with us and we had so many great conversations. But you're so right, opening up your house. Like, I remember that was, the camps always had an open door policy, and I was, you know, a little bit older than her girls, and I'd show up and say, hey, Miss Janice. This is, you know, before I was a teacher there. Hey, Miss Janice. So, oh man, that's awesome. Okay, so what would you say is the most unexpected lesson your child or children have taught you about life or about yourself?
They have taught me, my kids, my boys mostly, because Olivia's still pretty small, that they are not me. I tend to try to parent them like how I would have responded to as in me being a kid.
Gotcha.
And they are not me. Not at all. You know, my mom could have given me the look or the tone of voice change, and I'm like, oh, yep, that was the line. I better back it up. I better do whatever she told me to do, whatever it was. I better get in line. My boys absolutely do not have that. And all the time, continuously, I try to not do it. And I think me having a big reaction is going to make them be like, oh, we better do this. Yeah, it doesn't. Not at all. They are 100% not me. In fact, if I do have like a big reaction, Levi might be like, oh, you scared me. But does it change his behavior? Absolutely not. And so I have to remember they are not me, and I can't parent them as if they are me. Like, I need to adjust that.
Yeah, that's good.
So I still feel like I have so much to learn from my kids. They're, you know, they teach me things every day. But I guess something that pops into my head was after we had our third child, I kind of realized that everything doesn't need to be so rushed. Kind of like what Kellie was saying with the potty training thing with our oldest. I got it into my head at 2 that she needed to be potty trained, and it was like it was some sort of deadline. Like that was the rule, you know. So we made it, but it was a struggle, and there were so many tears and accidents and just frustration from both of us because she just wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And then whenever Lane came along, we waited a little bit longer. And then when Allie came along, we waited even longer. And the process was just so much more chill with them.
I think it's crazy. We put all these like deadlines on ourselves. Like, there is no deadline. I mean, for most things, within reason, there's no deadline, but we do that to ourselves. And like, why?
Do you think it's social media?
I think so.
Oh, yeah. I feel like there's pressure from everywhere. Somebody's always doing it so perfect or so great. And I mean, of course, there's tons of outside pressure all the time.
Like what Kellie Federico said, she was like, we're comparing our reality to someone's highlight. And I was like, that is so good.
Mm-hmm. And so, just thinking back, I could have saved myself so much stress by just waiting until she was ready. And it's been that same way with a lot of things with Allie. We really haven't pushed her to meet certain milestones. We kind of just waited for signs that she was ready.
Yeah.
And it's just been so much more of a chill process raising her than it was with my first. And I think that's kind of, how it goes with your first child. But like she's 5 and she's just learning how to swim this summer. Mm-hmm. We've never really done any formal lessons with her because she just wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And so this summer, now she's just swimming like a little fish.
Yeah, because she was ready.
Right. She was ready. Yeah. So, I think that same concept applies to a lot of things, that we just rush so much that we miss the things that are actually the right timing, and we might even miss, what God's timing is for us when we live such a rushed and fast-paced life.
Yeah. I feel like that's what God has taught me, like moving back here, we were in the rat race of working. And now that we've come back here, it's almost like God is like, just these 2 kids you're in charge of, but it's just slow down. And I see how, Jax is 4 and Lucy's about to be 1. I'm like, where did that year go? And so it makes me think about like, okay, like you don't have to rush. Or I was even seeing something about a video earlier where this parent was like rushing their kid to make the ice cream choice, and like, why? Just so we could get out 2 minutes earlier. It's like, let them pick, let them be a kid. Let them take the time that they need. So I'm going to take that little nugget and apply it when I get home tonight. What about you, Janice?
I think just to have fun. And, I feel like as a mom, you're always trying to move the train down the tracks, just trying to keep everything going. In my house, there was always a show going on around you or things going. And my husband, he's likes to have fun too. And he's really silly. And sometimes I just have to remember to slow down, just have fun with them and laugh with them and just see the joy. Because since they've been little and still even as young adults, they just enjoy life. And sometimes I've got to remember everything doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful, and it's just slow down, laugh with them, laugh at myself, you know, and just find the joy.
Yeah. No, that's good. All right. Well, this next question is for you, Miss Janice. What would you say has been the most challenging part of shifting from hands-on parenting to being the parent of 2 young adults?
Letting go a little bit, I would say, is the hardest. And my girls would tell you I probably still struggle with that, but gotten better. It was always just the 4 of us here. And like I lost my mom at 28 and my dad at 31. And then my brothers were much older. So it was kind of like just the 4 of us, the girls and Vince and I.
Yeah.
Luckily, we had a lot of church family and a lot of different friends that are like family. And we lived far away, from the other family and older grandparents and then uncles and aunts, and they didn't live close by. So dropping my first and off at college, it was tough. And we really felt like God was calling her to Southeastern University. Mm-hmm. She didn't know us all. We didn't know us all. But that initial walking away and leaving her there, that was, really. Vince and Maggie, I think they were going to drop me off on the way home somewhere. But then having to take Maggie too, letting both of them go. It was really hard, but I felt like we had been so tight. It was good for them to get away and kind of find their own way and everything like that. So it really was a good thing. And I knew that in my heart, but it was hard to make that transition.
Yeah.
But then I guess too, personally, I know different people have different philosophies, but I think too, just because they're stepping away, that doesn't mean you can't still offer guidance and wisdom and give them some nudges about things, and continue to like have their college friends come home, get to know their friends and do things. We tried to always talk about, what does it look like to be a light at college for Christ? Where are you going to church? How are you serving? How are you giving? We just didn't end those conversations say, okay, well,
good luck.
18, you're good luck. And but we tried to still insert guidance and wisdom and encouragement and try to be there, pray with them, encourage them. I think sometimes, it's hard to let go, but then now we're seeing the fruit of that and we're seeing, what they've been able to accomplish. And just now they're encouraging us in our spiritual walk,
awesome.
Because we see things they're doing like, oh, we need to, they're kind of sharpening us, or we see the way they're praying for us and remembering things and just how they're growing in their jobs and church and where they're serving. So it's so rewarding. It's hard, but it is very rewarding to see that. Like, I know it's just, and you get to have lots at this age, lots of great conversations.
Oh, I'm sure.
Lots of great conversations.
Because both of your girls live, 3 hours away? So you guys still make that effort of meeting halfway, going and doing things with them. So I love that even though they're not under your roof, you're still doing life with them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. Mm-hmm. All right. So now I have a question for you guys. How do you handle just sibling relationships? Jamie, you mentioned, talked about siblings and your piece of advice, but especially with siblings that have completely different personalities, how do you navigate those things?
All of my kids pretty much have the same personality. Mm-hmm. I mean, Grace is a little more reserved out in public, but at home, she's just as wild and crazy as the rest of them. But as far as relationships go, so we have some pretty hard rules when it comes to like respect, because I think that's where a relationship starts.
Yeah.
And I think bullying can happen even in a family.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So if I wouldn't allow my children to say or do something hurtful to someone outside of our home, then I'm not going to allow them to say and do those things inside of our home to their siblings. Yeah. So we've always held real hard rules about those types of things. So, but they're not perfect. When all else fails, a lot of times they have to suffer consequences together. Yeah. So like we don't send them to their separate rooms. Mm-hmm. We almost always have them do, some type of consequence together. So a lot of times I'll make them hug for a certain amount of time.
I love that.
Based on the offense. They have to run laps around the house together. Sometimes they'll have to do like planks side by side. Because a lot of times, their little bickering is a lot of times like pent up energy that I think is just like they just need to exert this energy somehow. And so, I'll just be like, you guys need to go run around the house, like 3 laps. Give me 3 laps. We're going to plank for 30 seconds. Yeah. And so that's been a good thing. Shane before has gotten a big T-shirt and made both of them get inside of the T-shirt together. So, I guess I just try to constantly keep them together. So even when they're not in trouble, they have to do their chores together. Yeah. They sometimes will sleep together whenever one of them is scared. Mm-hmm. And I'm constantly, trying to speak to them about each other the way that I want them to think about each other. Yeah. So, I'm constantly telling them, you guys are so lucky to have built-in best friends. Or we'll talk about things like, you guys are going to have so much fun whenever you're older and you get to do life together. Yeah. We talk about how Allie's going to have a bunch of kids because she says she's going to have 15 kids.
Oh, man.
Grace is like, she's not having any kids. So she's going to be the kidless aunt with like all the cats or something. She's going to be the cool aunt. And then Lane's going to be like the fun uncle who teaches them a lot of questionable things. So I guess my plan is just to try to keep them together as much as possible. Kind of like what Janice said. You know, we just try to do life together as much as possible so that, and I'm sure that's going to be even more important as they start to get older, start to, create their own relationships that they still have that bond with each other.
You're like creating that really good solid foundation that like for Shelby and Maggie, they now have. And like, okay, like I know that those are my people. That's like my home. It's where I feel comfortable. It's where I see Christ. I love that. Yeah. That's awesome.
Well, with twins, I mean, so they could not be more different.
Really?
Carter's quite spicy. He's always working everything in his favor. And Levi, for the most part, he's chill. Yeah. Go with the flow. Yeah. So to a certain extent, I kind of let them do their thing because, I kind of want Levi to, Carter's very dominant. He's 100% the dominant one. And I want him to like learn a little bit to stand up for himself. Yeah. So sometimes I let things go a little bit while always reminding them like, that's your family. Yeah. Like we don't treat our family that way. We don't talk to our family that way, that kind of stuff, but also kind of letting them figure it out on their own a little bit. But again, Carter, he's super smart. He's always thinking ahead. Yeah. Again, to his benefit. Yeah. Whereas Levi's like, I mean, he's smart, not dumb by any means, but he's just going with the flow. So I did have to like create like a chart. Each kid has like a day and it alternates because, you can say, all right, guys, let's go get our shoes on and go out the door. Well, they have a favorite seat in the car, the one that can see the baby. If I said, let's go, Carter's like, I need to go get that seat.
I gotcha.
Levi, that seat has not even occurred that it exists to him until he is in the car and was like, oh, I didn't get the seat. I never get the seat, And so I had to kind of like step in on those kind of things to like keep it fair, because Carter would get everything, all the good things, that they think all the time, because that's his goal.
Yeah.
Whereas Levi doesn't even realize he should think about that before he gets to it, And so I did have to kind of create a day that, you get the TV remote first, or you get the seat that day, or you're going to get a bath first and you're going to clean up, like those kind of things.
Yeah.
Just to kind of make it a little bit fair.
Yeah.
Because, I also couldn't keep track of who had done what last.
Oh, for sure.
So if there wasn't a schedule, it was a free for all.
I love it. All right. So my next question, kind of shifting more now to the marriage side of things. So are there any boundaries that you and your spouse have put in place just to keep your marriage from being put in the back burner? And I'm sure a lot of us right now with littles, we're tired. So I would love, maybe Miss Janice, you can speak into this first, since you and Vince have been in the trenches and now you're out of them a little bit.
Yeah, well, back when we were in the trenches, we used to joke that the only place we ever went by ourselves was to a doctor's appointment or a funeral. And that was pretty much it. That was pretty much it. And because we didn't have family here, I'll be honest, we didn't do a lot of date nights.
Okay.
But I just think some things that maybe we did that kind of like safeguards in our marriage that helped, is we always had like unity and decision making. We never got into this and back and forth in front of the kids. We don't have to give them an answer right away. Let's talk about that. So go back, make a decision. Sometimes you have to compromise, then come back out with a united front.
Okay.
So I think that was help keep our marriage, remain strong. Working together as a team to get things done, helping each other, not keeping score on who's, doing what. We've always preached this to our girls too, to protect and speak highly of your family and your spouse. I would hear people talking about their spouse at work, and it just break my heart, but go home and work that out with your family. Don't go up, don't talk about your spouse in public or your family or anything, that where you don't speaking highly of them, to us, but also to I think a lot of it for us was everyday moments. Like my husband, because I worked at a school as a teacher and then a school administrator, and when the girls were in school, we all took our lunch. So he would get up and pack everyone's lunch every day.
Okay.
And so I got a lot of poems and lunchbox notes and, things like that that we would all save, and a lot of little notes. And so things like that. So for us, it was a lot of that, or a text during the day, or small gestures, or, a full gas tank, or, always making sure things are taken care of. And he's very helpful and goes above and beyond and things. So you always feel so, the grand gestures are nice. And now we get to do more of the bigger things and the trips and the time alone. But for us, it was more of the small daily moments, that added up. Or, we had a silly tradition in our family too. If anyone was gone anywhere, you made a banner and put it all across the garage to welcome them home. And so just things like that, welcome, we love you. And then when we got older and Vince had to be in the hospital temporarily and our girls were older, we came home and they had made a banner for us, on the garage. So for us, it was a lot of the little moments, doing things together and, stealing time here or there, a cup of coffee but not as much the date nights, but just trying to, put some kind of safeguards into your marriage, I guess. And just try to do a lot of the little moments, the daily moments too. So.
As you're saying, it almost reminds me of just reminding each other, hey, I'm with you in this. Right. And it's like the little gestures of filling your gas tank up or leaving a note. I love that, because I feel we're kind of in the same boat right now too. Date nights are Kellie's nodding yes, non-existent. Our little girls are in the same class together. And I feel like even those moments of just sitting on the couch together, just being like, how are you? How's your day?
Yep. What happened today? How was your day?
Are you breathing? Do you have a pulse?
Yeah.
Right. And kind of tag teaming. Sometimes I would feel like, okay, I'm done. And luckily someone else was there and homework. And I remember all those days. They always say the days are long, but the years are short. And the time you're like, I'm not sure about that. Yeah. But it really is true.
Yeah. Sometimes Brandon will ask me, he's like, hey, where's your battery? And I'm like, I'm 10. He's like, okay. So I'm filling there. I'm like, yes, you are. Yep. Because I'm done. What about you ladies?
So one thing for us, and this is just the first thing that popped in my head because this is a real issue for us, is co-sleeping. So one of our children, I won't say any names, but loves to sleep in mama and daddy's bed. And then the other reason I'm bringing up this topic is because I know that I've seen like on social media and stuff, it's kind of a trendy topic that a lot of parents are kind of being encouraged or, encouraged to allow their kids to co-sleep with them. And, I know that works really well for some families, but it doesn't work for every family. And it definitely doesn't work for us. So Shane and I are not consistent on date nights either. So we never really have been since we've had kids.
Yeah.
So the only, alone time that we get is usually at the end of the day once the kids are in bed, and we like to be able to talk, kind of like Janice said, if anything has gone on during the day and we needed to discuss it, that's our only time to do that without the kids being right there, So, and I've noticed the difference in our marriage whenever we've not had that time. So we've really kind of had to draw a line in the sand on that. And even though it is a battle with that particular child, it's one that we're willing to fight. So I guess that's just my little tidbit on that.
No, that's good. Yeah, I like that.
I feel like we're pretty similar. We do have family here, but like having twins first,
I'm sure.
We've had, obviously we have family that would have, but you feel guilty, especially when they're little, because it's a lot.
Yeah.
You're not used to it.
Yeah.
And then now, even though they're 6 and Olivia's like, but still it's 3 kids.
Yeah.
And so we just always have felt kind of guilty asking people to do that. And so we always said we were going to do date nights, and we definitely haven't.
Yeah.
So I asked Matt that question, and I was like, what have we done? And he was like, nothing, Of course, we're like in the trenches right now, sleep regression and all right now, so we're feeling it right now. But we did talk about it. And like, I think we both try to do like little things throughout the day just to like show love, whether it's a text or whatever. One of the other Momcast mentioned like couch chats.
Yes,
we do that.
Yeah.
If it's a phone conversation because he's working, just still trying to make that time where we do like check in with each other.
Yeah.
And then also like, united front, like again, with the boys, like try to like, we're a team, whatever mom says, my Matt's like, yep, that's what it is. Or if he says something like, yep, that's what dad said. That's what we're doing. Trying to make time for each other and show love any way that we can. I think, if I have an unexpected day off because of Matt's schedule and he does 24 hours on, 48 hours off, if I have an unexpected day off, then we do a lunch date or a day date.
Yeah.
So we, that isn't always aligned, but when it does, like we try to make that time where it's just us and the kids, they still go to daycare that day, whatever, so that we do have some time that's just us,
Yeah.
And then, the occasional, my parents will take all 3 or whatever, but just not to do that so often just because we feel guilty, not because they wouldn't do it. But
Yeah. No, those are all good things.
You do have to be intentional because otherwise you'd have kids with you 24/7.
Yes.
Literally we'd have kids with us 24/7.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. And I'm trying to get better about making time for myself. Not even just like with me and Brandon, but like when I go to do something, it's like, okay, I need to even take a step back. And Brandon's like, leave the babies with me. Yeah. So I think even just for us as moms too, not feeling that, just checking in with ourselves too, like, are we giving ourselves just a minute to breathe is good. All right, ladies, we are kind of getting to the close end of our podcast, but I did have 2 more questions I did want to ask. So if you could write a letter to your past self, whether it was when you were single or early married, what would it say?
So I guess this would be my past self, like my pre-kid self, right? So I guess I think I would have just 3 words, and it would be, yes, they will. Because I think I used to just have this idea that my kids will never do, X, Y, and Z, or, working at a daycare and working in the schools and stuff before I actually had kids of my own. I judged so bad. I thought my kids will never do that. And I just would tell myself, yes, they will.
Yes, they will. I like that.
We have to eat those words so much now, don't we?
Yes.
Oh, yes. What about you, Miss Janice?
I just said I would kind of flip it. I'd have my younger self write my older self a letter because like I faced a lot, with losing my mom at 28, my dad at 31 and some other things early in my life. And God was with me and, just trusting in God. And then sometimes when I worry and things these days, I think, look back, and think about all the markers in my life and all the time he's been there for me. So, just your younger self saying, year olds, it's going to be okay. The same things that he was with you then and he'll be with you now.
Yeah,
so.
That's good. That's good. What about you, Kelly?
For me, I again, it would be to my pre-kid self. because that was very much a long time of waiting for us, with infertility. So I think I would, write myself a letter to say, be patient. God's got it.
Yeah.
He's got it, and relax.
Yeah.
Even once you're a parent, I think relax. It's all going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like, just be patient. Let him work. Don't try to force it. Let him work.
So good. Well, the last question I got for you ladies is, do you have any resources or things that have helped shape you into the wife and mother you are today? Or are there any resources you have used with your kids that have helped them in their walk with the Lord?
Okay, so I have 3 things that I want to share. The first one's kind of random, but it has really helped me as a mom. Something that I think most of us can admit to is struggling with managing our children's screen time. But I think we're less reluctant to admit, or at least I was, that we struggle to manage our own screen time.
Yes.
And so I know for me, I get really cranky and I get a headache, and I will a lot of times neglect my other responsibilities whenever I spend too much time on my phone.
Yeah.
So whenever that happens, I start to feel guilty. And then, so I made a plan and I got something called a brick.
Okay.
Heard of that?
Yeah. Janice is like, yes, I
Heard of it? Okay.
I think I need to get one.
Yeah. So it's like this little square device.
Okay.
And it physically blocks, whatever apps or sites
Oh, really? Okay.
on your phone.
Now, can you if you wanted to not do that, can you bypass it, or is it it's locked?
Yeah. Well, you can bypass it, but you have to physically go to this little square box
Okay.
and unbrick yourself.
Okay. So you put it somewhere very inconvenient.
Yes. So what I do is I keep mine in the laundry room, which it's on the opposite side of our house. So at 9:00, my phone is automatically bricked. And so the whole thing shuts down. I can't access any apps or emails or anything like that. All I can really do is just make.
Now, do you have to go take it to the brick, or just automatically does that at 9:00?
No, it automatically does it. Yeah. So, but if I want to unbrick for whatever reason, then I have to get up and walk all the way across the house and, tap my phone against this little square brick to be able to access those apps again, which I'm much less likely to do when I'm snuggled up in my bed. Exactly. So it just, provides a little more of a barrier because, if you have just a little password that you have to type in, I go right through that every time,
Yeah.
But it just makes it a little bit harder. And it's made me a lot more accountable for how much time I'm spending on my phone, and I really didn't even realize how much time I was spending on my phone until I got the brick, because, I didn't realize I would just kind of open my phone just almost like compulsively and open Instagram or Facebook or my email without really any real reason. It was just almost like a compulsion.
Yeah.
So I didn't really realize I was doing that until I was blocked from it.
Okay.
And so, so that's been something that's been really helpful for me.
I feel like that's where I'm sitting at right now. Even in church, Eddie talked about it's something like distracting your time. And I put social media. And I don't know why it is.
I do. Yeah.
Because I'll have these 2 sweet little faces staring at me, and then I get agitated and irritated when they come. I think of the Hannah Harper song about the string cheese when they ask for I'm like, I was watching. I'm really going to get upset over a silly video with my, again, precious children. They're little first. Yeah. Kellie and I are putting those in our Amazon cart now.
Yep.
Y'all grew up too where you didn't have social media.
Yeah.
And then you experienced a transition too.
Yeah.
So you're in a unique spot.
Yes.
Where these kids have always.
That is so true.
And you don't think about that. Like my girls kind of hit that too. Yeah. They have lived a whole, part of their life without that. So it is a unique time now.
I need to put that in my cart right now.
The other thing is a devotional that the kids and I use that I really like. It's called Keys for Kids.
Okay.
It's a free yearly subscription that you get in the mail, and it's got short daily devotionals. And I really like it because it starts with giving you a scripture that you have to go look up in the Bible.
Oh, very
And
cool.
I love that. I personally don't really care for devotionals that don't require you to open up the Bible because the scripture's right there.
Yeah.
So it gives these little short stories that are so relatable for kids, and the language that they use in it is so good for a wide variety of kids. So like my 5-year-old and my 10-year-old both get something from it.
Very cool.
So we, all 3 of them, are locked in when we do these devotionals. So that's a really good
Keys for Kids. Who's the author or publisher for that? So I can make some notes.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Just
all I know is it's Keys for Kids.
Keys for Kids. Okay.
If you just, Google it, it'll pop up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then the last thing is a book. It's called Little Pilgrim's Progress. Have y'all heard of it?
I haven't.
Heard of. Okay. Well, it was originally written by John Bunyan, and it was called The Pilgrim's Progress. And he wrote it in the 1600s.
Oh, wow.
While he was in prison for preaching the gospel in England. I thought that was so interesting.
Yeah.
But then Helen Taylor, she adapted it to fit, children. So she made it to where into a form where children can understand it.
Very cool.
But it still kept the storyline, plot the same. And the story and characters represent what it's like to walk a Christian life.
Okay.
So the main character is actually named Christian.
Okay.
He's on like this adventure journey to a place called the Celestial City where the good king lives. And that's supposed to represent like heaven and God, and he's got this burden on his back. It's like this backpack that's supposed to represent sin.
Yeah.
And he can't get rid of the burden no matter how hard he tries. But he eventually gets rid of it on this place called the Cross. And, he goes through lots of other ups and downs on his way to the Celestial City and the good king, as, we all do as we walk a Christian life. So it is such a good story.
Yeah.
And just such a good piece of literature that I think all kids, even adults, should read.
Yeah.
The version that I really like is it's written by Helen Taylor, but it's illustrated by Joe Sutphin.
Okay.
But the illustrations on that one are just gorgeous.
Okay.
So worth having in your home library.
Okay. Very cool. Awesome. What about you, Miss Janice?
I just had, keeping a prayer journal. That's just a great and to sit down, at dinner. We talk a lot and looking at answered prayers, talk about what you're praying for, a family prayer journal.
Yeah.
And then plugged in online by Focus on the Family.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of that.
I've heard of that one.
You can look up movies, games, TV shows, and it breaks it down. Such a great resource. We used to look at that, use that as a guide a lot. Still, even as adults, we do about whether we should go see a movie or not, or, whether our kids should see it. But it's a great resource.
I feel like that will be because right now, Netflix and Disney, I am always trying to see, is this show okay? So I may have to plugged in online. Okay. Very cool.
And then the last thing is this really for young adults, teenagers, adults. This book by Johnny Ardevanis, Consider the Lilies.
Okay.
About worry and anxiety and finding perfect peace in the character of God.
Consider the Lilies, is what it's called? Okay. Awesome.
It's a great book.
All right, Miss Kelly, what about you?
So to be honest, I'm not really much of a reader.
That's okay.
So I don't have a lot of books and stuff like that. I think my resources have been like my community.
That's good.
Not being a mom till I'm 35, I was probably one of the last ones of my friends to have, kids.
Yeah.
So, really, even though they're a lot of them the same age as me, I kind of get a lot of wisdom from them because a lot of their kids are graduating high school now.
Yeah.
They're not 6 months old.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So, friends and family and that kind of stuff. But my mother-in-law did get us like a kids devotional book.
Okay.
That I don't know where she got it, but it's very much from the 90s.
Okay.
The cover looks like it came from Saved by the Bell. Those are the best. And so it's maybe a little bit over like my kids, head a little bit like age-wise. But someone had given my husband like a journal kind of notebook that was for like taking notes, a prayer journal, I guess maybe. And we started using that along with that devotional book, and because it had things like what was good today, like, what do we want to thank God for today? How did you help someone, or what did you learn?
Oh, good questions.
I currently want to kind of shift when we do that in our day because we're doing it at bedtime and like
they're done.
Or Levi was be really into it, and Carter's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Yeah. So I was thinking like dinner time, we were all together, that kind of stuff. That's really all I have for that.
Yeah. That community piece is so big because we talked about that in the previous 2 podcasts of just, finding women, like you said, in the same season of life, older, but also I feel like for us, also finding someone younger than us. That's something I felt the Lord's really been put on my heart is like pouring back into someone else.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, ladies, thank you so much for being here today, man. I know this conversation has blessed me, and I know it's going to bless so many others. So thank you for making time out of your schedule to be here, share just, all the knowledge that God has put in you and experiences he's put you through. So I'm excited to just hear what the listener has to say about it. But next week, we will have our last Momcast episode, and we will have one person from each location. So I'm excited for that one. But in the meantime, we hope and pray that this conversation has been a blessing to you, and we look forward to chatting with you next week. Have a good one. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Let's Talk About That. We hope it encouraged and challenged you as we continue to grow on this journey of faith and embrace community together.
If you have more questions, thoughts, or feedback, we want to hear from you. Be sure to reach out to us through our social media or visit our website to stay connected. If you found today's discussion meaningful, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Until next time, we hope that this episode inspired you and will keep Sunday's message at the front of your mind. See you next week.